Chapter 6 Wasted Effort. Soft, warm, and cuddly goodness. I was snoring on a cloud way up high, birds flying by, and crystal clear skies. I heard soft giggling, and the cloud seemed to tuck me in on its own.
Morning, sleepy horse.
I blushed, feeling a kiss on my nose as I slowly opened my eyes. Compound was looking right back at me. Hey! I licked her nose back, and we snuggled very closely. After a few moments of very soft and warm cuddling, I remembered Scattershot. I noticed her still snoring and curled up into my wings. I was never a morning pony, but getting out of bed today was particularly something that I wasn't up for.
Morning already? Shucks.
Scattershot woke me and enjoyed the soft and cuddly moment with me and Compound for quite a while.
Might have been the best night I ever napped in, and nothing beats cuddling up with you two.
She sat up eventually and started to pack things together. She had only brought a few shells for her gun with her in here. Compound looked at her saddlebag and got some things out, white powder and some crushed green stuff, and poured them all into a testing tube, along with the only ingredient that I recognized, which was liquid lightning.
Like what you see, huh, Leaf?
She gave me a wink as I was watching her go in awe. She lifted her bottle towards me.
Only test this onto some pony who you really want to have a bad day.
She was shaking it while explaining the effects. I nodded at the girls and got 2 books and a special potion into one of my saddlebags, which was labeled Wizardry Potion. This stuff essentially made you so calm you could probably define infinity in your head, but of course it was supposed to help if you needed to cast a lot of magic frequently. Only other thing besides my usual gear was a leftover half of a healing potion, and I didn't think we would need much more because we were going for an abandoned town today according to plan. I heard a loud grumbling, and I looked at Compound, who blushed and grinned innocently. We could bring something to eat with us. I insist, every pony. I burst out in thought, and eventually I brought every pony to a little cart near the edge of town. I remembered that being there and having various drawings of edibles on there, and it seemed my memory wasn't deceiving me today. There were ponies sitting near the stand, having some food as we got to the little cart, which had been turned into a food truck in a way. It was kind of awesome. A yellow earth pony there smiled at us as we got close.
Top of the morning. What can I get you, ponies?
He was smoking. He used a wooden pipe containing some strangely smelly tobacco. His green mane smelled, well, like food. I was never into smoky things, but I didn't mind it either. Well, can you suggest something for 3 ponies who have a big day ahead of themselves? I looked at him and was amazed. I didn't know why I felt so confident about myself to speak up to him. I didn't know why, but it felt nice.
Big day? Well, fried beans, oatmeal, and some special house cookies are good if you need to stay full during the day.
Okay, I'll order those things plus some apple juice. I ordered my food, and the cook immediately started writing things down, but he was reserved and probably very much into work at this point in time.
Oats, cider, and some rat toasters for me, and some milk as a side.
Scattershot ordered. I had never tried meat before, but I was curious as to what it was like.
I'll have,
Compound seemed in thought while the pony got cooking, quite literally.
some eggs Manhattan style. Oats and, apple fries, please.
She was making her mind up slowly as she finally concluded her order. He started to cook, and we took a seat next to the cart, because we were kinda hungry.
Say, where you're heading to anyway?
He looked at us while we were sitting down and waiting for our food. We're heading for a deserted town not far from here. seeing what we can find there. I openly told him what I was up to.
Sweet whelp, wish you luck, and I'll make sure y'all are ready.
He started to whistle while cooking, and I got out one of my books from my saddlebag.
What you got there, Leaf? You seem full of mysteries.
Scattershot peeked over, and Compound scooted closer to me, and I opened a miniature version of a map of all things I had recently seen, and the entry where I had written a small report about the town, and I told them about when I found it, and Compound looked at me.
Never would have ran into him if a group of former raiders didn't decide to raid it that night.
Her ears folded back and I smiled. I never would have met her if I didn't take a nap in one of the buildings that very same night.
Just like I never would have ran into you if I didn't see you come out for a strut yesterday.
Scattershot looked at me and then to my bandages.
Well,
The little chat was abrupted when the chef trotted over here while food was cooking, and he seemed even more curious when he saw my book.
I reckon I've been there before. Was told there's a mine that was run over by varmin that you'd hear about in nightmares.
A mine? Filled with strange animals? Maybe here would I learn more about things from the past.
45 caps, you three.
He inserted, and I levitated the bits onto his counter, and the smell from the food was just begging me to lose myself, and Scattershot gave me a rather sassy look of hers.
well, I don't know any alicorn that would invite you for breakfast.
She chuckled, and Compound poked her.
I told you.
After a few more explaining about where we would go today, the yellow cook brought us our food, and neither of us hesitated and dug in. The wastelands make you hungry, as one can expect, albeit being more subtle about it than waves washing ashore.
So, what does fleshy stuff taste like?
Compound managed to speak after I thought it, and Scattershot raised her hoof to her chin.
Well, a bit chewy and different texture, but nothing more to it.
She explained her taste, and I did like the sound of that more than one might think. Compound nodded and continued eating. After my oatmeal and fried beans, I felt pretty full, and those cookies, I only realized now what made them special. No sweets or such, but little brown bits of something that surely wasn't chocolate or anything. In fact, I had no clue at all what they were, plus there was cheese sprinkled onto those cookies. I took a bite, and that usual smile when some pony indulges into a cookie appeared on my face, but I got a clue as to what these brown bits were. They tasted sort of salty and were chewy. They had to be meat of some sort, but I didn't question it any further and continued eating.
That hit the spot.
Scattershot sat there content, as I have ever seen her.
Yeah, I feel ready for just about anything.
Compound winked at me and I nodded firmly. I got the dishes together and put them onto the counter before we got packing, heading for that derelict town. After a solid 2 hours of trotting, we got kinda close. I hadn't established a place to teleport to this place, due to the rush I was in last time I was here. Compound and Scattershot were trotting along, and I was wondering if someday my dream would come true of uniting the wastelands. All the differences, our fates and everything, being the base for a strong rule through unity, not a common leader like in the past. I got a poke from my side, finding Scattershot's hoof against me.
What you thinking? You seem like you're hatching an egg, New Leaf.
My eyes went wide as I was brought back into the wastelands in their current state, and I looked at her and nodded. Well, I was thinking about the future and all, you know.
We'll see where our hooves take us.
Compound put a hoof around me. I must have seemed worried or something. I felt talky this time around, and trusted these ponies, so I spoke. I told them about how I was left behind and kept secret as a plan B, if the rule of the Celestial Sisters failed. I included how I openly spoke out against some of the things they decided upon, and they didn't like it. but couldn't speak against it either, because, well, partially due to the war in their very own country. But when Celestia abdicated and Luna took rule, just before her incoming death, that was when Celestia told me goodbye before going to some place she didn't want to mention. But she seemed hopeful, and regretful too, telling me if some pony can bring together this country from a state of anarchy, it would be me. Just never thought things would get so drastic.
And after my stable, I've been out here for quite a few years.
I concluded a brief summary about what my past 237 years had been leading up to.
Celeste, you do me dirty. You've been up to all this stuff, and some ponies are here, happy to see you tomorrow. Not bad.
Scattershot's amazement barely made it into a full sentence.
I believe in him a heck lot, Scatter. You'll see.
Compound ruffled my mane and I started to blush, feeling all popular. Following the sandy plains, we eventually got into a town, or what was left of it. Going by what that pony who fed us this morning told us, there should be a mine here, but I had no clue where to look for that, and I was really ready to wager a cider I'd find out in some of those buildings here. It was so quiet, like before a storm, but then again, wind didn't feel as breezy, with the prevalent clouds clogging up the skies. We started our scavenger hunt in a small shack, which got us nothing but dust, broken furniture, and cracked windows, so we decided to try next door. After 4 smaller houses, we decided to go for a bigger one. But getting in wasn't so easy. The door is locked with a padlock, and the windows boarded.
I don't really think any of us know how to pick those right.
Compound looked at us, and as I was about to think of a spell, Scattershot picked the lock. She stuck her tongue out.
Screw playing thread the needle when you could do this.
She looked at us as she opened the door, and we followed. Gosh, this place was unusually smelly, even for a wooden house. 1 upper floor, as it seemed.
Scatter, check out top. We'll split up for bottom here.
I looked at them and was astounded by myself, how I told them how I wanted to proceed here.
Gotcha. If I find something, I'll shoot.
2 rooms down here. An empty door frame led to a big room with an old couch, a big but broken TV, and the stench was getting worse. I didn't really know where it was coming from. Compound was right behind me.
Smells like all of Equestria farted down here. Yuck.
She was whispering. There were drawers on the TV, but old books, magazines, and the sorts were all there was in there. Kinda nostalgic. One was about fashion and showed a famous dress, which was known as a princess dress, made by who would later be known as the Ministry of Image.
Oh boy, dresses, huh? Is that what ponies back then were wearing? Looks a little, fancy-pansy.
I nodded in agreement. I wasn't the kind of pony who was all into big fashion items. The insight mattered indefinitely more to me. I nuzzled Compound's soft, white, and fluffy mane.
Yup, some ponies are awesome and adorable as they come, just like this one.
I squealed because I felt like it, and Compound rubbed her mane against mine and licked my nose.
That's the cute colt in my mane.
After some cuddles, we took care of finally trotting to the other door, and the second we opened that, we knew where the smell was coming from. A pile of flesh and bones, which had pony shape. Apparently some pony died here, not ghoul though.
Gross. Yuck.
I quickly teleported it onto the TV from the room we just came from, and I took a deep breath. And quickly, my mouth became a wide smile as I looked around and found a small cup filled with caps on a fridge here. We took no more than 10 seconds to rush up the stairs, and found Scattershot here.
This bucking safe!
She looked at us as we came in through a door frame behind her, finding her staring at a black old box stuck in the wall. There was a monitor to the right, probably used to input a code, and a small dent where Scattershot was trying to shoot it. Compound tilted her head.
I don't think I got nothing to break through a wall.
I think I got this. Just, stand back.
I told the girls, and they got behind me. This was no matter of being able to break it open, but a matter of doing so minimalistically and not damaging the contents, which didn't always work. But well, I hoped this was going to go smoothly. My horn glowed gently before launching a pretty decently sized fireball at the safe, which looked only slightly bigger than a shoebox. A large hole stared back at me where the safe was, and moments later, we rushed outside.
Looks like you really are the deal with just spells and all. After all, Leaf.
Scattershot looked at me, then back to the box, and Compound trotted next to me and was smiling widely at me, then inspected the safe. My fireball seemed to certainly have cracked the safe doors, and the doors looked like a meteor struck it. The corners had been busted open from the force of the impact, and there was a small hole in the center. Gemstones and some papers, and they didn't get singed?
Whew.
Compound carefully levitated the contents through the door and opened a folder with a bunch of papers. She started reading aloud.
This is the first sample of what we can gather from mines. Ponies who had this place before the war are missing out. But we need stronger mindsums down there. Some wild creatures here aren't happy about our business, but ministry orders are ministry orders. These are the new schemes for them. Bring 'em to the mine entrance behind the blacksmith's house. We'll pick 'em up.
Compound finished reading and lifted some drawings of what looked like robots. I hated those things with everything I could. This model had one wheel, like a unicycle that ran on tracks, and something I thought to be a firearm's front hooves.
Where's the blacksmith?
I looked at them, but Compound seemed to have the answer to this one.
Follow me, ponies. I think I know what that's about.
A few moments later, we stopped in front of another building, and Compound trotted behind it. Some stairs which looked like they'd lead to a cellar of said house. We followed her downstairs, and to my surprise, these stairs did not lead to any cellar, but well, to more stairs leading downwards. Scattershot finally picked another door, which was locked via an electronic lock. But behind said door was a tunnel system, as it seemed. The bottom had rails to it. The right side was leading upwards, so I assumed we had to go left to go down further. I was wondering what creatures were down here, and if those robots were doing their duty of holding them up properly, or if they had gone berserk already. It was dark, and the lights down here weren't functioning, so mine and Compound's horn were the only source of light. Minutes later, we had rolling, like from a wheel on something on the mine tracks.
Intruder alert! Monster detected!
Something robotic from behind us, and we started galloping like we ran from Tartarus itself. I got up my magic shield as we trotted for our lives, and the two fillies were keeping up close, but Scatter ran in front of us, in front of the shield. We turned around a corner at an intersection, and Scattershot didn't react quick enough, to the sight of a solid dozen of robots aiming at us, mounted to separate rails from the sides here. Seconds later, they opened fire. Blood splattered as bullets and lasers pierced Scatter's body, and she fell over on the rails. No telling how bad she got injured. These damned robots, probably also considering us to be invaders. We quickly got Scatter into our shield, my paranoia doing its part of the keep friends alive job. As my shield was still active, but I could feel it wasn't going to last more than half a minute under this, I had to do something if we didn't want to become cottage cheese.
Close your eyes.
I squealed while Compound bent forward, feeding something to Scatter, and my horn started to sparkle and shine brightly. The seconds became minutes. I was calm on the inside. These ponies gave me confidence, made me feel like we could do anything together. I felt so calm, thanks to them. I knew no matter what I'd do, they'd be loyal to me. Even if I let out some spells that ponies have learned to fear me for. This one was called the Black Sun, and I still have yet to find something that survives the spell. It is a homage to the Celestial Sisters. It carries my everlasting determination to return harmony to this land as it once was. Good thing tin cans don't feel pain or aren't live ponies.
You bucking tin cans are not taking the ones I love again.
There was now a green glowing crater where those darned robots were, and the hallway was more like a giant dome now, probably enough to fit a decently sized house into it. I was breathing heavily and sweating like from a workout, and turned around. I hadn't forgotten about the one that was chasing us. In fact, I had a shocking idea how to get him.
Celestia ride me hard.
Scattershot looked at me panting, and I looked back at her, tears in my eyes. I couldn't lose another pony. I hoped at least.
We got you, Scattershot.
Compound fed her some more liquid stuff, and I didn't know if bandages were reusable, but I had no second solution to this. We pulled her to the side as the chasing robot thing got closer, and I connected my horn directly to the rail, and cast a relatively strong lightning from my horn. And the next thing, after some static that I heard, was a loud explosion followed by an almost eerie silence. Quite a few holes and burns on Scattershot's sides. Couldn't tell if any vitals were struck. She was breathing heavily, though.
If I end here, I gotta apologize for doubting you. You're both the best thing to happen to me. But promise, you're finishing your thing, Leaf.
Scatter looked at me and I nodded.
And we'll get you through somehow.
I tried staying calm and took my bandages from the previous injury she had given me and put them off. Probably against something any medical pony would advise. I didn't know if they were reusable, but I had no other solution here. Compound put a hoof around me.
It'll be alright for all of us, no matter what.
I nodded, and we managed to bandage Scattershot sort of halfish with what bandage I took off of me and my last healing potion to take care of some superficial wounds to stop the bleeding. Still, there were quite a few holes on her, though. Luck would have to tell whether we'd find better medical stuff down there, or intel about the ministries and maybe more. All I know is that our friendship would keep us strong together no matter what, and believing in that gave me strength to push on.